Defeating an organisation that spans across multiple solar systems is never going to be an easy task, and the United Federation of Planets, for all its faults and declarations of peaceful inclusion, is no exception. Hello, Rick here with another video on the United Federation of Planets. Several times throughout its history, it's been challenged by other powers and withstood them all, but for the sake of things, let's look at how to go about finally defeating the Federation. Okay, so I'm not going to break down into individual battles and tactics here, as with the rest of the Federation series, this is more of a general overview. Also, the Federation, and Starfleet in particular, are generally the good guys, so this whole video kind of paints the opposing forces, well, the opposite. We're going to look at the Federation of the 2370s, as opposed to the earlier times, as the organisation was much smaller then, but by the time of the Dominion War, Starfleet and the Federation were a much bigger organisation spanning some 7,000 plus affiliated planets. However, it was much more focused on exploration, doubling down on the ideals of diplomacy and cooperation, and taken aback by the sudden and overwhelming opposition it faced in the Dominion. If you want some in-depth Dominion War analysis, check out Lore Reloaded series on the matter, as he covers various encounters in detail. But in many ways, the increasing threats the Federation faced served to weaken Starfleet in particular, but tempered what was left into a more militarised force. Another big threat was the Borg Collective, who were able to launch 2 attacks against the Federation, the second one making it all the way to Sector 001 before it was stopped. However, the Borg tactic involved time travel and simply preventing the Federation from existing in the first place, so I call that a cheat. Anything can be beaten with time travel. Except the chicken, because it came first. So that leaves the Dominion and the Klingons as the biggest threats to Starfleet, and ultimately the Federation. Both of these forces had one thing in common, however, and that was their sheer firepower of their fleets in both numbers and size. Much of the Klingon society see themselves as warriors, therefore a huge percentage of their spacefaring civilization is focused on warfare, and the Dominion is a 2,000-year-old superpower where troops and ships are manufactured and churned out at incredible speeds. So there's your first method. Having the bigger stick doesn't always ensure victory, but it certainly helps. Stay clear of Federation space, in fact the space of most other races, build this power in secret and then hold on to it until the time is right. In Star Trek Discovery, it's mentioned that the Klingons became such a threat because their tactics were highly aggressive and unpredictable, attacking whatever flew a Federation flag regardless of tactical advantage or losses to themselves. I have my own issues with the Federation-Klingon War in Discovery, but the war events still happened, plus it's a viable tactic, if a costly one that would prolong a conflict and incur massive collateral damage. Now the Klingons didn't care about that, but the Dominion did. The Dominion didn't want to destroy Starfleet and raise the Federation to space ground. It wanted to collapse the Federation and take its place in the Alpha Quadrant. After all, the goal of the Founders was to bring order to all within its dominion, and there's no point being a ruler if all you're going to rule is a pile of smouldering ashes. So the Dominion employed a greater variety of tactics to destabilise the Federation in prelude to open warfare. They began infiltrating Starfleet, the Federation's guard dog, and used their positions to create chaos through misdirection. And this methodology served them very well, so inserting sleeper agents and the like has proved effective in the past, if only for short-term results. They also encouraged the enemies of the Federation to act out, first turning the Klingon Empire against them through the same sort of manipulation, and even organised crime operations became the beneficiaries of Dominion plots that targeted the Federation. So Starfleet has its blind spots, criminal syndicates and the affairs of foreign powers, and manipulating these is more likely to go unnoticed than a spy in the centre of Starfleet HQ. But let's take this one step further too. Why not start with those outlying Federation colonies? Rather than destroy them, try to divide them, cut them off from the support of the UFP. We've seen in the past that planets that view themselves as expendable in the Federation's eyes have rebelled, such as the Marquis. If a situation such as this can be engineered across the other colonies, even if only 10% of 100 worlds affected rebel, that's still another thorn in the side of the Federation. Another way to force the Federation apart would be to induce squabbles amongst its member races and peoples. The often bureaucratic Federation has to juggle the needs of many, many planets, so some are going to fall through the cracks. The infiltrations and undercover harrying of Starfleet can compound this issue by simply overloading the number of plates the UFP has to spin. And more importantly, it serves to discredit them. Look how many in Starfleet defected to the Marquis. If you can offer a small colony world something better, safer than the Federation, well, suddenly it becomes a lot more difficult to stand by an organisation so far removed. The Federation too has numerous enemies. Some aren't even a true threat, like the Shaliak and the Talarians, but they could become dangerous if properly supplied and motivated. If you hadn't seen it by now, the key to defeating the Federation lies in being diverse in tactics, as they are, and being surreptitious in your approach. The Federation is viewed by many as a positive force, and openly opposing it suddenly paints you as the villain. So discrediting its ideals is equally important. Propaganda and informants in the right places are key. This, in my opinion, is one of the areas where the Dominion failed ultimately. They ended up uniting the Alpha Quadrant against them because they were perceived from the get-go as a threat, believing themselves superior enough to outmaneuver the efforts of several militaries. Their strategy was divide and conquer, but in such a blatant fashion that uniting against them was the obvious answer. Though Section 31 played a massive part of this by accelerating the Dominion's plans by inflicting the Founders with a virus. By the end of the war, they had no time for subtlety. Ultimately, any attack on the Federation would need to have had years of groundwork. By this stage, the Federation would have lost worlds, been harried by enemies that were no serious threat but served to disperse Starfleet, and been painted in a more negative light as its unity began to fail. Discrediting them to this extreme hopefully prevents them from receiving aid from other species like the Klingons. It's at this stage that you strike. As mentioned to begin with, you'll need the firepower to be able to stand against Starfleet vessels, but until now, holding back on the attack means you should have been able to build your offensive in secret and have presented false numbers. Until now. A couple of smaller ideas that occurred for actual combat with the Federation. Taking out their leadership is generally pointless. Starfleet captains are trained to be autonomous for much of their career, so simply taking out a command ship won't cut it. Another officer will simply step up. Same with the Federation itself. There's a president of the Federation, but he answers to the government of every member of the planets and species. There's just too many to remove at once. This is why you attack their unity. By driving the members apart, you can create conflicts of interest. Eliminating the head of the Federation government simply makes it easier for a single unifying voice to step up and rally the remaining, undoing much of your hard work. Instead, focus on cutting off trade routes, communications, and adding to the chaos through misdirection and subversion. Add to the sense of division and isolation. Another point to note, it's important that the conflict not be drawn out. The Federation adapts. It has the experiences of all its member races to draw on, and the more time it takes to win, the more strategies they will develop and countermeasures will be erected. So your portfolio of abilities needs to be equally diverse and rotated quickly to avoid repetition. So a long war? Not a good idea. We see this with the Breen dampening weapon. Originally devastating to Starfleet, and in the short term it was an ace in the hole. But a defence was soon discovered. After all, even the most basic Starfleet vessels are equipped with numerous scientists, engineers, and access to a massive archive of research, so the longer a conflict, the more innovative they're going to get with their defences. No. A short conflict with a sledgehammer approach would work best here, targeting communications and aiming to disrupt the Federation before moving on to its homeworlds. The only way to make that a successful victory, however, is to prepare beforehand by isolating its components and souring its relations with other potential allies. If you're particularly dastardly, you can use morality against them, as the UFP has shown time and time again that it places saving lives over that of winning a conflict. Hey, I said this was how to defeat the Federation, not to do it in a way to win friends. Thanks for listening. I think the Dominion came the closest to beating the Federation, and if it wasn't for some questionable Section 31 actions coupled with the Dominion's overpowering evil aura unifying everything else against them, they may have actually succeeded. Ultimately, this is all just theory, as the Federation is unlikely to fall to anything except an overwhelmingly powerful entity, and even then, they have the ultimate plot armor. Plus, Star Trek without the Federation? Could you imagine what the ships would look like without Starfleet designing them? Anyway, Thanks again, and of course, if you can think of another way to remove the Federation, or perhaps even supplant it, let me know below. Until next video, I've been Rick, and I'll be building my interstellar empire in secret with pamphlets. Goodbye!